In August 1839, the U.S. Navy brig Washington intercepted a battered Spanish schooner drifting erratically off the coast of Long Island. Months earlier, the captives had been kidnapped in Sierra Leone and smuggled across the Atlantic. During the coastal voyage in Cuba, a captive named Sengbei Pie led an uprising, seizing the vessel and killing the captain and cook. The survivors ordered the two remaining Spanish navigators to steer the ship back to West Africa. Instead, the Spaniards deceived them, sailing east toward the sun during the day, but steering north and west under the cover of night. When Lieutenant Gedney intercepted the ship in American waters, he didn't see a rescue operation, he saw a financial opportunity. Under maritime law, a captain who secures a drifting vessel is entitled to salvage, a reward based on the value of the ship and its cargo. Gedney towed the ship to Connecticut and filed a claim for the payout. In the eyes of the law, a rebellion for human rights had become a dispute over the value of a cargo manifest. Claimants presented passports labeling the captives Ladinos, legal slaves acclimated before 1820, but a British official proved they were recently trafficked. The documents were fraudulent. The entire international incident now relied on this manufactured record. When lower courts in Connecticut ruled that the Africans were free, President Martin Van Buren ordered his attorney general to appeal. He was determined to move the case to the Supreme Court. Van Buren feared that releasing the captives would alienate pro-slavery voters in the South, threatening his chances in the upcoming 1840 election. To prevent the Africans from escaping his reach, the president issued a secret executive order. He stationed the USS Grampus in New Haven Harbor with instructions to seize the Africans immediately if the judge ruled against them. This plan ensured a direct deportation to Cuba, bypassing the chance for any legal appeals. The Spanish government demanded the matter be handled gubernativamente, by executive decree, rather than through the scrutiny of a courtroom. The president was actively working to subvert the judicial process to ensure a group of free people were returned to Spanish custody. In early 1841, former President John Quincy Adams entered this chamber to lead the defense before the Supreme Court. Adams rejected the government's attempt to treat the captives as a single lot of cargo. He insisted that the court recognize the individual rights of all 36 survivors. Using diplomatic correspondence, Adams proved that the Secretary of State had misled the public. Spain didn't want the Africans as property. They wanted them as prisoners to be executed for the uprising. Adams elevated the case, turning a salvage claim into a high-stakes referendum on executive reach and the separation of powers. On March 9, 1841, Justice Joseph Story announced the 7-1 majority opinion. While Adams argued from natural law, Justice Story based the ruling on the narrow, technical language of Article 9 in the 1795 Pinckney Treaty. The decision rested on casus foederis, the circumstances required for a treaty to take effect. Since the slave trade was illegal, the captives were free individuals with forged passports. Therefore, they could not be considered merchandise, and the U.S. had no obligation to return them. The Supreme Court did not strike down the institution of slavery with this ruling. It simply found that these specific individuals did not meet the treaty's definition of property. This ruling liberated 36 people, but it left the Fugitive Slave Clause and the legality of domestic slavery completely intact. In 1841, the 35 surviving Mende people boarded a ship for Sierra Leone. Their passage home was paid for not by the government, but by private abolitionist groups. John Quincy Adams issued a final warning to the court, focusing on the dangers of a president who ignores the law for political gain. The Amistad case remains a reminder that the U.S. government was willing to use its military and its courts to enslave free people, all to satisfy a foreign power and secure